The Salem Witch Trials: Fears, Power, and the Collapse of Reason. We chose the Salem Witch Trials because they're one of the most dramatic examples of how fear, religion, and power can lead to mass hysteria. In 1692, a mix of social, political, and religious tension fueled a wave of accusations that tore the community apart. Though the trials ended and verdicts were later overturned, the damage left lasting bitterness. As Carlson notes, by September 1692, the hysteria had begun to abate. Even today, the themes of scaffolding and moral panic are still relevant, from conspiracy theories to online witch hunts. The story of Salem continues to echo in modern times. The Salem witch trials were a series of prosecutions in colonial Massachusetts from 1692 to 1693. The hysteria began after young girls in Salem Village claimed to be possessed and accused of others of witchcraft. As tension rose, fueled in part by war, refugee displacement, and religious fear, panic spread in 1689. Keller Williams War sent refugees into Salem Village. Over 200 people were accused and 25 lost their lives. 19 hanged, 1 pressed to death, and others died in prison. Many convictions were based on spectral evidence and coerced confessions, revealing just how dangerous fear and superstition can become. The Salem witch trials weren't just about superstition. They were rooted in deeper political, social, and gender tension and Puritan society. People used the trials to target outsiders, settle personal scores, and hold on to power. Fueled by fear, religion, and a flawed legal system, the trials reveal how quickly justice can collapse when fear takes control. As the Salem witch trials took place in Massachusetts and spread throughout Essex County, at the time the colony was a strict Puritan theocracy. Church and government were deeply intertwined. Tensions over land, leadership, and lifestyle fueled division in the community. Puritans believed witchcraft was a real threat and a sin of God, and a crime punishable by death, which set the stage for the hysteria to unfold. Now, as we talk more about the accusations of the Salem witch trials, the accusations during the Salem witch trials were fueled by young girls claiming to be affiliated by witches. Their strange behavior matched Puritan beliefs about witchcraft, and many accused were outsiders or people with strained community ties. The trials relied heavily on spectral evidence, claims of seeing spirits, which the court accepted as real. This led to unfair convictions with little concrete proof. In total, 19 people were hanged, and one of them was crushed to death. Eventually, the community recognized the injustice and the panic had overtaken reason. As we move on, we also realize the Salem witch trials involved several key figures whose action helped fuel the hysteria. Reverend Samuel Parris, the minister of Salem Village, played a central role by questioning his niece, Abigail Williams, about her strange behavior. Abigail's accusations soon led to many arrests. Elizabeth Parris, his daughter, also showed odd symptoms and became part of the early cases. Tituba, the Parris family enslaved woman, was the first to be accused. Under pressure, she confessed to witchcraft, which made others believe the dangers was real. Their involvement sparked a wave of panic and deepened the community belief in witchcraft. Fear and mass hysteria were critical factors in Salem witch trials. In deeply religious Puritan community, fear of the devil's influence led to widespread panic when young girls began accusing others of witchcraft. The court accepted spectral evidence, allowing flimsy claims to convict individuals. This created a climate of paranoia where neighbors betrayed one another. Reverend Cotton Mather, a key figure in the trials, famously stated, "It were better that 10 suspected witches should escape than that one innocent person should be condemned." This reflects the danger climate of fear that gripped Salem. Now, as we move on, we could also talk about church and power structure. In Salem, the church and political power were closely linked, with religious leaders holding significant influence over both moral and legal matters. Reverend Samuel Parris, a central figure in the trials, helped fuel the panic by preaching about the devil's presence in Salem and supporting accusations made by the afflicted girls, many of whom were from his household. His sermons framed the trials as a spiritual battle. As historian Burns notes, in Salem the clergy did not just preach the gospel, they shaped law and order, wielding scripture as both a shield and sword. This intertwining of religious and legal authority made it nearly impossible for the accused to defend themselves. Now we can move on to the gender dynamic and witchcraft accusations. In Salem 1692, Salem women, particularly young girls who were typically marginalized, gained power by accusing others of witchcraft. This disrupted traditional Puritan gender roles, where women were expected to be subservient. The witch trials became a dramatic performance, where accusers, mostly girls, challenged male authority by using the community fear of women's speech and actions. As these girls claimed to see spirits, it heightened the Puritans' fear that women's voices were wild and dangerous. This reinforced the idea that witches were often women who defied male-dominant social and spiritual rules.
Our project highlights how the Salem witch trials were not just a time of fear and superstition, but also a way for people to gain power. Initially, we saw the trials as a strange historical event where people believed in witches, but after learning more, we now understand how fear and social pressure led to injustice. It wasn't only about witches, it was just about controlling people, especially women and those who didn't confirm. The trials show how quickly reason can vanish when panic takes over, and it made us reflect on how similar things can happen today when misinformation spreads or groups are unfairly blamed and treated. Aside from the fact that the Salem witch trials happened in the 17th century, they still serve as a warning about what happens when society's pressures, biases, and unchecked power come together. Today, witches are part of our culture through holidays, traditions, and entertainments. The trials also reflect how women have been unfairly treated and marginalized, something that continues today and that we still see around the world today and even on social media. They remind us that women still face discrimination and violence in many parts of the world, as highlighted by the Global Citizen. Finally, to sum everything up, the Salem witch trials taught us important lessons about society, justice, and human behavior. They showed how leaders and people with power could abuse their power and punish people cruelly based on their beliefs. The trials also revealed how easily people can turn against each other when driven by fear, especially in a society with strict beliefs and little acceptance of differences.
And finally,
the world today and even on social media. They remind us that women still face discrimination and violence in many parts of the world, as highlighted by the Global Citizen. Finally, to sum everything up, the Salem witch trials taught us important lessons.
the Salem witch trials. The Salem witch trials.